There's nothing in this world I love more than the Beatles and the Doors. I'm rocking my Beatles shirt just for the occasion. And I'm sorry to my friends and family, but it is true. Now, as Jim Morrison of the Doors once said, I am the Lizard King. I can do anything. Now, when many first hear this quote, they think Jim Morrison, crazy 60s rock star who's lost his marbles in a lifestyle of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And to that I say, yes, but I think that's a very narrow way of viewing what it means to be a lizard king. Because there are two types of people in this world that would call themselves the lizard king. Firstly are the acid heads, right? Which you might argue is Jim Morrison's perspective on what it means to be a lizard king. And I mean, fair enough. Not every day do you get a grown adult coming to you saying, I'm the lizard king, without being on some sort of psychotropic substance. And tragically enough, you also don't get enough adults thinking they can do anything. So the second group of people, which I think Jim Morrison is talking about when he talks about the lizard king, is children. A child comes to you and says, I'm the lizard king. You think, oh, he's so creative. I can do anything. I'm going to be an astronaut. I'm going to be a soccer star. I'm going to be famous. I'm going to invent the cure to cancer. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. So there I was. I was sitting alone in my room on my computer, listening to the Doors song, Not to Touch the Earth. And I was thinking about a little project I wanted to do for my gap year, with all this spare time COVID had given me. So I was on YouTube, and on my YouTube recommended list was a TEDx video. And then it hit me that that little X means independently organized. Now what that means is that anyone in this room could have done this. But you didn't, because I did, okay? Now, I pondered on it for a little bit. Could I organize a TEDx event? And I thought, hang on. I'm only 18 years old, fresh out of school, barely worked a day in my life. This is adult stuff, okay? I'm just a child. I can't do anything. And just like an angel in my mind, Mr. Morrison's words came right through my headphones, into my ears, and they burrowed their way in there. And he said, I am the Lizard King. I can do anything. So I took Jim's words, and I think it's fair to say he didn't let me down. Because if there's one major motif in Jim Morrison's lyrics, other than that of the Native Americans, it's children. And if there's one thing I want from everyone at this event tonight, or this evening rather, is to be more like children. Now what do I mean when I say let's be like children? Because I don't mean be a child. It's kind of annoying. Sorry little kids. So, I'll start by saying that the human brain has the property of being very neuroplastic. Now the word neuro refers to the brain, and the term plastic doesn't mean plastic. The term plastic means to be moldable. You can change its shape and it will hold. So we know that a child's brain is more neuroplastic, has higher neuroplasticity than an adult's brain. So their brain is able to change more easily. It's like the saying goes, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And the element of truth to that is that as your brain ages, it becomes more rigid. This is why you get the old fart so caught up in traditional ways of doing things and not too concerned with modernity. But on the other end of the spectrum, you get youth who are very susceptible to false and misleading ideas. So it's all about changing your mind. And unfortunately, too often, changing your mind is considered a sign of weakness, right? If you change your mind, people think you're weak. But it's actually a sign of strength. It's hard to change your mind. So we just say it's a sign of weakness to make us feel better about the fact that we won't. Because it's all just about changing and adapting to that change. Because that is exactly what makes all of us humans the most dominant species on planet Earth. And that is because we are the most adaptable species on planet Earth. Think about it like this. A new species of animal comes to a colder climate. Now, it's used to the warmth. The animals in that species that just so happen to have thicker fur coats from random genetic chance, just like how I might happen to have thicker hair than you, thank you, just from random genetic chance, the animals with thicker fur coats stay warmer. So they're more likely to survive and more likely to reproduce, spreading on their genetics for having a thick coat. Now the ones with thinner coats stay colder, more likely to die, less likely to spread on their genetics. Now over up to millions of years, this process happens, just gradual changes. You've probably heard of it, it's evolution by natural selection. And over a long amount of time, this species has now adapted to its new environment. Now here's where the beauty of humans comes in. We're all far too impatient for that, okay? So what we do is when we get to the cold, we're cold, right? So we see that animal that's taken millions of years to evolve to this climate, and we kill it. And then we peel its skin off and then put it on our own skin. It's kind of absurd, but now we've just taken their adaptation and we've invented clothing. So we've just compressed millions of years of evolution into just a few hours of intelligent hunting and craftsmanship. Right? Do you see the point? Is that when we are faced with a change to our environment, we overcome, we outsmart, we adapt to that change. Because the humans that didn't adapt to change all died off. Whereas the humans that charged headfirst into change are the very living ancestors of every single person in this room today. Every single human alive today. Now, I realize I'm getting a bit carried away here, but I promise that neuroplasticity, natural selection, and Jim Morrison are more than just topics I want to talk about. They're also topics we should talk about. Neuroplasticity, to change your mind. Natural selection is about adapting that to that change. And Jim Morrison, well, that's the most important one of them all. Just have fun while you're here. Be a child, okay? Now, the very theme of this event, which I hope you know, it's kind of all over the place, is cause and effect. Now, typically, you hear cause and effect, and this refers to essentially how one thing makes another thing happen. Smoking causes lung cancer. Lung cancer is the effect. Smoking is the cause. The moon's gravitational pull on Earth causes tides. Tides are the effect. The moon's gravity is the cause. Okay? I can stub my toe. The effect is a very sore toe, and the cause was me just being silly, okay? But essentially, the cause always has to precede the effect, and the effect has to come after the cause, okay? My toe can't be in pain before I've stubbed the thing, okay? Now, for any watchful viewers, you'd know that the theme isn't cause and effect, but cause and affect, okay? So it's not the cause to the effect, we're personifying that. It's about what is our cause, our meaning, our purpose, and how do we affect others. Okay? Now, I'm sure we have all heard of the 5 W's and 1 H. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. And these are 6 fundamental words humans have invented in order to gather knowledge about the world around us. And we also use in our problem-solving abilities. Any question that uses who, what, when, where, why, how cannot be responded to with a simple yes or no. They require a full factual response. So if you really need to know anything, you've got to use one of these words. If you want to solve anything, you've got to use one of these words. They are so defining in what makes us human, right? How do we adapt to the colder climate? What must we do? Where do we find the means to do so? Who here is strong enough? When must we get this done? And why are we doing it? I'll get back to the why in a second, but essentially the 5 W's is literally the official name in describing these words. The 5 W's. It's so basic, so elementary, such a childish term in describing arguably the most defining and foundational words that make us human. And we still call them the same thing we did when we were 7 years old. The 5 W's. I think it's just brilliant, right? Now, cause and effect talks about the what happens and how it happens from our 5 W's. But for this event, we've changed it a bit. Now, what do you think a child's favorite word is? Light? Why? Wow, spot on. Why? Children ask why a lot. And funnily enough, I don't think it's a coincidence that it's also a philosopher's favorite word. Now, children have so much intrinsic curiosity about this new world that they've been chucked into, okay? So they question everything, and they don't just get all the things we take for granted. So why do dogs have fur? To stay warm. So why do they need to stay warm? To survive. So why do they need to survive? Because then they'd be dead. And why is that so bad? I don't know. All life wants to live. But why does all life want to live? That's how the universe works. But why does the universe work like that? I don't know, it just does. But why? It just does. But why? It just does. But why? Because God works in mysterious ways. Okay, not that last one. But essentially, we find ourselves getting to what a friend of mine and myself termed the black hole of why. Is essentially, if you keep asking why, you get sucked into the exact same unanswerable question. Why does the universe do its thing? Why does it operate how it does? So asking why is very unsustainable. And a lot of the time gets you absolutely nowhere. Yet we still ask why. Because we love questions that make absolutely no sense and have no meaning to them. Like, is the glass half full or half empty, Lel?
Yeah, it used to be half empty, now it's half.
Okay, so Lel has become an optimist, but the reality is you're wrong. The true answer is that it doesn't matter how you look at it, there's still the exact same amount of bloody water in the cup, okay? So your perspective doesn't matter. Yet we still kind of love tingling with that question and those sorts of questions, the meaningless ones, the pointless ones, because we strive through it. Now, we're changing. Well, this is why asking why can be kind of annoying, because there's an endless amount of questions and a lot we don't have the answers to, or sometimes we just can't be bothered to answer how many questions they throw at us. So, we're changing cause and effect to be from what happens and how it happens from our 5 W's to cause and effect. What we do and why we do it. We're asking why, we're questioning everything like children again. What is our purpose? How do we act upon our purpose? What is change and where does it come from? How can I affect others? And why are we doing any of this at all? So, my children, be prepared to change your mind and question everything just like a child can. And adapt to that change just like a human. I'd love to present to you TEDxRosebank. Ooh. Don't do that.